Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Organized Chaos Stories with Shabana. It is Friday night in February, it is not leap year, and my mind feels completely blank, which is wild because I'm usually buzzing with ideas and creative sparks. Tonight, silence. And I honestly have no idea what I wanted to share, but then I realized, well, it is February, the month of love, so I decided that I would share the story about how David and I met. However, before we can get to the when and where I met David, we have to go back 19 years earlier. If you have been following along for a while, you know that I was adopted from India and raised on the East Coast. Growing up, I always loved working with kids. In high school, I decided I wanted to become a kindergarten teacher, so I completed my 90-hour certificate in early childhood development. It was such a fun program. We got to serve as teachers' assistants in kindergarten classrooms, create lesson plans, and gain tons of hands-on experience. After graduating high school, I enrolled at my local community college to work towards my associate degree. At the time, I was in a serious relationship. He was a senior in high school while I was a freshman in college. We had known each other since elementary school because we grew up in the same church. Our friend group did everything together: youth group, church events, school dances. My best friend was the pastor's daughter, and she later became my maid of honor when David and I got married. Not the high school boyfriend, just to be clear. By the spring of my freshman year, I wasn't really enjoying college. Around that time, our youth group attended our annual youth conference, a Friday night through all-day Saturday event. During the conference, they presented an opportunity to attend a youth ministry school in Texas. It was a program focused on learning more about yourself, growing deeper with God, taking Bible classes, and discerning what you wanted to do with your life. Something inside me knew I was supposed to go. Honestly, could be a Manifesting Monday story because the way everything fell into place was wild. In May, I filled out the application. They had to call all my references. Meanwhile, my boyfriend and I had been on and off again. We ended up breaking up. Shortly after, I went to the beach with friends for a senior week. I remember the morning we were leaving, I stepped outside to wait for our ride and thought, God, there has to be more to life than the party scene. I was emotional, crying, and frustrated. I wanted more for my life. I'm pretty sure it was on that car ride home that I got a call from Texas from the youth ministry. I had been accepted. They told me to start packing my bags because I needed to be on campus by mid-August. I remember thinking, holy crap, this is happening. I wrote support letters, people donated, and I had a send-off party. I was so excited to start this new chapter. I had never left home before. I had never flown alone. The first year of the program came with strict guidelines. No dating, no secular music, and other rules I don't even remember now. But that year changed me. I fell in love with Texas, the people, the sunsets, the weather, the wide open land. I fell in love with myself. I fell deeper in love with God and with Spirit. In the second year, dating was allowed. I remember praying very specifically, God, when I meet the person I'm meant to marry, I need you to make it clear. I need you to tell me this is the person I'm meant to be with. It was the first Saturday of September of our second year we stayed on as leadership. Quick backstory. During the first year, everyone had a ministry placement, basically our job assignment for the year. Mine was administrative assistant to the male directors on campus, the ones overseeing all the male students. I feel like I knew every male and male leader on campus at the time because of my ministry placement. I had made a friend named Cynthia. I thought she was cool, and I really wanted to get to know her better. She invited me to join her on a Saturday to a trip to Dallas to drop off her friend Denver at the airport. She said we could hang out afterwards, just the two of us. I was excited. However, she showed up at my door on that Saturday with someone I was not expecting. Oh, this is my friend David. He's coming with us. He works with me in Denver. I was like, oh, Okay. I was so irritated. I thought it was going to be just the two of us, but I stayed quiet. Turns out she did not want to drive back from the airport, so she had invited him to drive. It was about a 90-minute trip, and I don't blame her. I didn't want to drive, and she didn't want to drive, so he might as well drive. The four of us drove to Dallas, dropped off Denver, and then the three of us spent the day together. It was lunchtime, and Cynthia was on her phone trying to raise support for school. So I'm sitting across the table from David, eating the free chips and salsa, and I ask, "So, where are you from?" He says, "Washington State." And right at that moment, I felt this download. This is the person you're going to marry. I immediately thought, Washington is so far away. No, I'm from Maryland. There's no way I could ever live out there. But we kept talking, getting to know each other. We enjoyed Mexican food for lunch, went to the farmer's market. He bought a watermelon. It was just a really fun day. That was the beginning of our friendship, and I didn't tell him anything. I have always been the person to pursue the guy in all my many of past relationships. I said, for this one, if I heard correctly, he can ask me out. By spring, around March, our friendship had grown. We spent more time together, shared meals, and there was definitely something there. We liked each other, and we weren't officially boyfriend and girlfriend. By August, it was graduation time. My dad flew out for graduation, and I told him, if anyone asks to date me, the only person you're allowed to say yes to is David. David did talk to my dad, but he still hadn't officially asked me. Deep down, I knew he would. There were things I was personally working through, and he knew that. He was patiently waiting for things to clear up on my end. After that graduation, we both committed to our second year of serving leadership within the ministry. I went to Minnesota to help open a sister location. He stayed in Texas. That's when he finally asked me through a handwritten letter, snail mail. I remember checking my mailbox every week, knowing there would be something from him. This was back in the day of free long-distance phone calls after 9 p.m. So we would talk once or twice a week for 2 or 3 hours. Thankfully, we were in the same time zone. We did 11 months of long-distance phone calls and handwritten letters. I think we saw each other 4 times during that whole year. We went on our first date 3 months into our relationships because our mutual friends were getting married, so we met at their wedding with friends and got to see each other. We went on a date, I believe it was Starbucks, and then we went to a playground and swung on the swings and jumped into the snow because there was a lot of snow. Before we had started our courtship, he had read a book called I Kissed Dating Goodbye by Joshua Harris, and he felt very strongly that if our courtship led to engagement and marriage, there would be no physical touch until our wedding day. And he told me that on the phone and wanted to know if that was okay with me, if I would respect his boundaries with all of that. And I knew we were going to get married, so I said yes. If that's what he needed, I would do it. And of course, the long distance definitely helped with that. The first time we touched each other, held hands, was at the altar on our wedding day, and the rest that evening, and it was wonderful. I was David's first girlfriend, and I had many relationships before him. When they say opposites attract, they mean it. But the not dating for 2 years before I had started my relationship with David was really good for me, and it helped me really decide the person who I wanted to be and who I wanted to have in a future relationship. And also, just to back up a little bit, we had finished our leadership program back in August of 2007. I ended up moving from Minnesota to Washington, living with his family for 3 months. He moves back to Washington, gets an apartment about 45 minutes away. And so during that 3 months, he does propose to me. And when he does propose to me, which is we get back in August, he proposed to me that September, and we're definitely fresh out of school and stuff and starting our lives, and we are broke. And so I wasn't expecting a ring or anything like that, but I had told him, when you decide to say I love you, it needs to be backed up with a I'm going to marry you. And so for the engagement, he said, I love you, will you marry me? And that was our engagement. And I said yes, of course. And then the wedding ring that we had found was on sale for like $200, and it had a small diamond chip in it. And the plan was eventually we would upgrade that ring, and that's a whole nother story for another time. That's such a great story of how I upgraded my ring later on in our marriage. And okay, hopefully that all makes sense. And then I would love to say that, and we lived happily ever after, but that is, we did eventually. But I would say the marriage years 1 through 7 were really challenging, with 3 small kids under the age of 5 and unstable jobs and small living spaces. And we didn't really know how to communicate our needs to each other. But eventually things did work out. And this past December, we celebrated 18 years of being married, which is so wild. We started our relationship one way in what we believed. A lot happened, and now it's taken this other turn, and now it's actually turned out better than I could have imagined. Follow the fun and trust the process, because you deserve to be happy. So in honor of the love month of February, that is our love story. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye. This podcast is sponsored by Happy Mail. I created Happy Mail for when you don't have the words, Happy Mail does. Happy Mail sends handwritten cards of encouragement that uplift, comfort, and reminds everyone they matter. Happy Mail is better than a McDonald's Happy Meal, spreading kindness, not calories. Click the link in the show notes and get your Happy Mail sent ASAP. Limited to U.S. residents only. Hey you, yes you. Thank you so much for listening to Organized Chaos, Stories with Shabana. If you love this episode as much as I did, hit that subscribe button, leave an outstanding review, and share it with a friend who needs some inspiration. Thank you for being part of this community. Remember, in every bit of chaos, there is always a story waiting to emerge. Who knows, maybe sharing your story might inspire others to share theirs. The possibilities are endless. Let's live in the possibilities.